if you think that you're that important, then maybe you need a reality check.
On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Roy Pennings from the Netherlands. He owns 2 successful gyms that he's grown and scaled that offer semi-private training and large group training.
The business doesn't really fully rely on me anymore, where I just fix all the gaps. It's more based on a team and structure and systems now. And in the past 6 months, we've made more progress in that area than probably in the last 4 years combined. You're selfish to stay on the floor. If you honestly think you're the best coach, then start coaching your trainers. Coach the coaches, and then they'll become better coaches in the long term. How you think people perceive you and what you think they expect from you. But I just made a decision that at some point that I don't really want to run my gym on those terms, but just on how I would like to run my gym. You started the gym for a reason. Otherwise you could have just started working for someone else in a gym. So then if you want to be a real gym owner, then you have to live like a gym owner and take the role as a gym owner. The first part that always frustrated me about Dutch marketing agencies and what I still see.
Let's jump into the episode. Roy, welcome to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. Just to give context to everyone either listening or watching this, whereabouts are you based in the Netherlands?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. We're based in the south of the Netherlands. We have one gym in Vught for the ones that are from the Netherlands and one in Kaatsheuvel.
And I was there recently. How far is that from central sort of Amsterdam?
So one of the gyms in Vught is about a 40-minute drive and the other one is a little over an hour drive.
And just explain the demographics in those towns.
So basically it's just, Kaatsheuvel is a really small town, but it's basically just where I was born and grew up with. So it wasn't really a strategic choice to be there. And it's a bit like farmer-ish type of people even. Really broad type of audience really, and then Vught is known for being like a bit more of a high-end
affluent.
Yeah, yes, right next to a bigger city than Bos.
That was where you opened location number 2.
Yes, correct.
So we will flash up some footage now of the gym that I visited, but can you just explain as you go through the door, how does it sort of, the layout, everything about the business model?
Yeah, so immediately when you walk in, you'll see our group class room, which is basically just built around Hyrox, because we thought Hyrox is a really cool and upcoming trend at the minute in the Netherlands and the rest of the world, obviously. So we wanted to do a group class concept where we would bridge the gap between regular fitness and CrossFit, because CrossFit for a lot of people, at least in the Netherlands, is pretty high standard to come into. So we wanted to bridge that gap basically. When you walk up the stairs, you'll just find our upstairs functional fitness room, where it's focused purely for us for the small group personal training concept.
How many clients in a session downstairs and upstairs for the small group?
The maximum that we have at the minute is 16 in the group classes, and it's a 1 to 6 in this gym for the SGPT.
And price points?
Price point at the minute is for SGPT 2 times a week is $227 a month, and 3 times a week $287 a month. For the group classes, it's for 2 times a week is $87 a month, and 4 times a week $127. But the prices do differentiate from the other location. The other location is more expensive.
Can you give some insight into the Dutch fitness industry in terms of where it's at right now compared to other nations?
Well, I think comparing especially to the UK, because this is what I've been following the last 6 months mostly, it's basically just really behind on what they're doing in the UK. I think the key difference for one is the quality, because there's no regulation regarding personal training. So literally everyone can call him or herself a personal trainer. So the quality is a bit hit and miss. You can find a really good trainer, but you could also just get to someone that's been training for like 3 months and thought like, oh, I want to be a personal trainer, I'm going to do something by myself, and they get trained by them. So that's just really the biggest difference. Then at the same time, I think no one in the Netherlands at the minute is really doing SGPT, and I know it's the standard in the UK. Everyone's still doing PT concepts, 1-to-1, 1-to-2, and just small group training. But then the biggest difference is that it's just not individualized, and it's just like more of a circuit training, and that's just basically the personal training space. Group classes, a lot of boutique studios, Pilates, like boxing classes, all that kind of stuff, row cycle classes, but just in the big cities right now. And then just once you leave the big cities, it's just standard family gyms and CrossFit boxes, and that's about it, I think.
At what point did you decide to switch? Because you used to do the old way, right, of delivering fitness. When did you make that decision to switch, and why?
Well, we basically ran into a scaling problem where we were just full for a long time. We just always had a waiting list. Then at the same time, we had trouble with staff, where staff would just leave after a year because you can just ask so much money for a PT session, and it's really hard to scale that up rapidly. And obviously, if you want to give your trainers a little bit more money every year, you need to find a way to make them bring in more money at the same time. That was one factor that we wanted to give trainers more perspective on a career, so we can help them grow and eventually give them a serious job that they like to do and gives them fulfillment. At the same time, from just doing PT sessions one-to-one, I realize it's very inefficient, because you're just a lot of the hour you're just doing social interaction. You're not really coaching anymore. So that brings in two problems. One, the coach is just getting boring at some point, where you just have to be like a social person all the time. You're not really coaching. And then at the same time, for the client, they pay a very premium price per training session. And most clients just do one session a week, personal training, and you can't guarantee them any results. And most of them just don't get any results. And the only thing you could do is just try to get them in the gym or get them in our gym to do free training sessions, but it's also not going to give them great results. So if you put those two things together, it just makes sense to go to this concept. And this is obviously what I've seen in England, what works.
What would you say to the gym owner or the PT that has a bank of clients? Why should they switch to semi-private?
Well, I think everyone at some point has a dream to not do training entire days, double shifts from 7 a.m. to 12, and then from 4 p.m. again till 10 or 11 or whatever, and just live that life their entire lives. I think as long as you do like a private or a semi-private, a private or a 1-to-2 concept, you're just going to live the same life, because it's just not scalable to a point where you can literally start working on the business, get off the floor, because there's just not enough revenue coming in to afford to do that, unless you just want to hire inexperienced young trainers that you can put in for a cheap price. But then at the same time, then you can never look at your business and be proud of it, because the product's just bad, probably.
On previous podcasts, when we've talked about switching the model from one-on-one to small group training, I've sort of said, like, most people don't need one-on-one coaching. They think they need it. So unless it's a very exclusive celebrity that needs it for the privacy, or it's a pro athlete that needs it for the programming, or it's someone with a severe medical condition like a stroke or maybe wheelchair bound where they need that hands-on assistance, most people don't need one-on-one. They think they need it, but they'll get better results in a small group, and it won't cost them as much, and they'll stick for longer. So making that switch was massive for you. How did you break it to your clients? How did you roll it out?
Well, so basically the thing was, in our new gym, we didn't do any personal training at all. We just started out with the group classes. And like the first 2 to 3 months, we wanted to test the waters, like what's really working. And we didn't want to go all in right from the get-go, because if you just get a lot of clients at the same time, I thought back then with a completely new team, it's very hard to just perform immediately, and you just have one chance to build a good reputation in an area. So the first 3 months, it was a little bit quiet, but then it went a little bit too quiet. So then you start looking in ways to not do the PT anymore, because we had a couple of trainers that were already getting a little bit tired of just doing one-to-one PT sessions. So we were already basically trying to find things to switch it around. And then just in December last year, we found this in the UK, and then we just decided to switch it and go all in on it.
So you were watching what was going on in the UK market,
yeah,
and then made that switch based on that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then let's go back to the actual business models of the two gyms. So how many clients are you at right now? And then what's the team behind the scenes?
So we're at about 150 small group PT clients at the minute. We do have around 50 large group clients. We didn't really have a lot of focus on that section. We're going to build it out later, but we just add a lot of focus on the SGPT client section. We're now working with 6 trainers. They're all full-time. There's just one person that's part-time, but we're also trying to get them to a full-time position because I feel like that's the best way to go at the minute.
I think what you just said there is crucial. So your goal is to fill up small group personal training at a higher ticket first, and then look to backfill the group classes at the lower ticket price.
Yes, basically the thing that we want to do is that everyone who gets into the gym gets the best experience possible from the start. Because obviously the first couple of weeks that people come into the gym is the most crucial time whether they're going to reach long-term goals or not. So even if they go into large group classes, we still would like to have them start a SGPT program, even if it's for 6 weeks. Then if they, don't want to make the investment to go into a SGPT program for long term, or they just prefer group classes more, we either make them have both of them or then switch them to the large group classes. Only if they have like CrossFit experience or like really experience with fitness and just are looking for specific Hyrox classes, then we put them in immediately, but we don't advertise with the group classes really.
And is that because most people coming off the streets, they can't fully lunge, squat, press? They've got like pattern, the functional movement patterns are just not firing, and they need that attention first before going into like a group class?
Yeah, usually just the experience that people have is just very low. Most people don't really have any functional fitness experience that come into our gym. It's usually people that either have never been into a gym or just went to a big commercial gym, did like some e-gym or just circuit on machines, yeah. Yes, and that's about it. So they really have to learn how to use their bodies properly.
And what we also see is much easier at the start of the relationship to sell their prospective client the higher ticket package rather than getting them in on a cheap and then like, oh, by the way, now would you like to pay double the price for a different service? Because it's much harder just to move them. So it's much easier to sell them higher ticket first and then move them down, or they go into high ticket and then they just stay there for life because of the value they get, the results and so on.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think it's also that we can make a difference in who we are letting into our gyms, because we basically say to everyone, we want to be the gym that you will get the results that you want to achieve. And we don't just want to be the next gym for them where they'll train, maintain something, get their hopes down and just accept the fact that they're not going to get the results that they want. So obviously we need to know from them as well that they're ready and committed to make these changes in their life so that we can get these results that we want to get for them. So it's a good way to frame them and also just say no to a bunch of people.
What's your role in the business?
So basically at the minute I'm not on the floor anymore. My role is mostly I do all the follow-ups of the leads that basically come into the business, sell the 6-week program, see who's a good fit for us and who isn't, and then from there I'll run the strategies and basically make sure that management is doing everything properly and that they're following up and basically helping with the day-to-day stuff where help is needed from the team.
At what point did you make that decision to not coach anyone anymore and step off the gym floor?
Well, it's basically been a long-term goal that I wanted to get off the floor, but it's also, I think, a lot of gym owners can really relate to this, is that it's quite frightening as well, because I've been on the floor for like 8 years, just doing everything yourself. You also get a feeling that people expect you to be there, and you start working and running your gym on how you think people perceive you and what you think they expect from you. But I just made a decision that at some point that I don't really want to run my gym on those terms, but just on how I would like to run my gym. And basically this was around, I think 5 months ago that I got fully off the floor. I felt at that point, because the leads were coming in so fast after starting with you guys, that I just needed to get off the floor. I had so many sales calls to do. There was just the whole switch made it also possible and made it useful for me to get off the floor and make my time or put my time in something else that was worth more than just being on the floor training, and it's a choice that I never regret.
Yeah, behind the scenes, and we deal with obviously so many gyms, we see a difference in the gyms where the owner is on the gym floor delivering the product versus the gym owner who's off the floor. There's a big difference in their business in terms of revenue, profit, systems, because your time now, rather than, let's go back, I guess you're delivering 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions a day, then you're trying to cram in business stuff, in the hours in between sessions, and it's incredibly hard. But now your full attention, as soon as you wake up, is on the business, which only elevates the business, and it's a positive.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've grown more like from a business standpoint with systems, and the business doesn't really fully rely on me anymore, where I just fix all the gaps. It's more based on a team and structure and systems now. And in the past 6 months, we've made more progress in that area than probably in the last 4 years combined.
At what point did you make that decision to leave the gym floor, and why?
Well, obviously, I wanted to get off the gym floor for a very long time, because I just thought I need to do the next step. This was basically also one of the main reasons why I wanted to open a second gym, because I didn't want to just be a trainer anymore, and I wanted to have a larger impact on more people, improving their health and fitness. But then I never really had a good reason or could really justify to myself getting off the gym floor, because I felt like there wasn't a lot of work to do once I got off the gym floor. Then when we started working with you guys, we got so many leads that I just had to make sales calls all day, which forced me to get off the gym floor, because it would just make more sense from a commercial standpoint to just start doing all the lead follow-ups and trying to get more members in the gym. And from that point, I just got off the floor really fast, which made it justified for me. And then, it just made more sense to stay focusing, working on the gym instead of in the gym.
Because I bet your day previously was up at 5, sessions 6 till lunchtime, maybe 2-3 hours off at lunch, and then same in the evening, and then maybe 1 or 2 hours on the business in the evening while watching TV.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to juggle life.
Yeah, it's just you literally have no social life, and I don't really care too much about it, because this job is my life basically, and it's my passion, but at the same time it's just really draining, because you have short nights, and you do a power nap, you can't really train anymore. Literally all your the performance in the gym goes down from my own standpoint. So a lot of things will just go down. The gym will continue running, but a lot of things suffer from it, like personal relationships in the long run, your own fitness, and that's just, you can do that for a couple of years, but it's not the life that you would want to live in the long run, at least not for me.
What would you say to the gym owner who is doing what you were doing, doing split shifts, training the clients and trying to run the business at the same time? Why should they go all in and leave the gym floor?
Well, I think it's really good to obviously build character and you have to do all these things at some point. Like if you're starting out, I think it's fine, and I think you have to do it, because otherwise, well, if everything is just too easy or you've never done all these hours, then you don't really have anything to show for it. But then at some point, I'm sure every gym owner deep down would want to get off the gym floor, because they already, you started a gym for a reason. Otherwise, you could have just started working for someone else in a gym. So then if you want to be a real gym owner, then you have to live like a gym owner and take the role as a gym owner, which is probably quite scary, because you obviously have to bring in staff to replace yourself. It's a setback in your own income, but I always think that the best things in life come from stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you just step out of it and just take the leap of faith and do it, just trust yourself and just make it work.
But I love coaching. All of the clients love me. They want me to coach them. I'm the best coach. No one else could possibly coach as well as me. If I tell all of my clients I'm leaving to work on the business, what will they think of me? They'll think I'm greedy, trying to make all this money, that I've left them. They supported me through COVID. They've been with me forever. What would you say to the gym owner that's looping that story in their head?
Well, that's just a limiting belief. And I think you're greedy if you just want to give your own clients that experience. Because if you get off the gym floor, you can start managing and training your staff and make them better trainers, so everyone gets a better experience. And in the long run, you're selfish to stay on the floor. If you honestly think you're the best coach, then start coaching your trainers, coach the coaches, and then they'll become better coaches in the long term. And then you'll have a way bigger impact on the team. And usually we think we're so much a lot of people, I think most people tend to think that the things that they experience are so much more important in other people's lives than they really are. Like if you do a very bad training session with someone, you can literally feel bad the entire day, but probably when they walk out and they didn't have a good experience, they'll probably within 5 minutes they think of something else that's more important. And while we think that maybe they're going to cancel their subscription, this was like the third bad session, they walk out and think, I've got to pick up the kids probably. So I think just it's from that standpoint as well. I think if you think that you're that important, then maybe you need a reality check and you're probably not that important. Just take 2 weeks off and see how things go.
A friend said this to me recently. He said, if the business owner who's delivering the sessions on the gym floor was to die, would those clients say, you know what, I'm never going to buy personal training again? No, like within 30, 60, 90 days, they're going to purchase it from someone else. So I think what you said is, it's limiting belief, right? So the more business owners can get off of the gym floor and actually be business owners, the better their brand, their business, their team will be, and the results on the gym floor will be even better.
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's also, would you want to live a life and have work where you feel like you have to live up to certain people's standards all the time, where basically your clients control what you do and when you work? I've obviously had this situation for years as well, that people literally just wanted to get trained by me. But then I think, well, then you have a couple of people that want to be trained 7 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday, and then you have some people that want to be trained by you on 10 p.m. on the same day. And I think, well, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But I didn't want to do that, so basically I just decided that whoever's going to leave is going to leave. And that's also one of the most important things as well, from changing from my perspective from private to semi-private to SGPT model, is that we want to focus more on people staying and wanting our service because of the coaching quality that we deliver, and less on the personal relationship that you have. Because if you're a PT that just does all the social interaction because you don't really coach on the floor, then your social relationship with this person is so much more important than how well you can coach actually. But if you just change the dynamic and people are actually staying with the gym because you just provide a very good service, then it doesn't matter who's training them as long as the quality is good. So this is also from the gym owner's perspective a lot better, because you get a lot less dependent on the personal relationships from your trainers to the clients, and way more on the systems and how well the service is provided.
Talk me through the product on the gym floor. Is someone in charge of the programming, and then are the sessions 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour? And then what typically happens in a session in terms of like mobility, cardio, strength training?
So basically, all our sessions are always an hour, including warming up and cooling down. We have one head coach that basically does all the programming. He structures out everything that we do training-wise. I'm not really involved with that, so he's just obsessed with training. He comes from the CrossFit world and he really likes doing all that stuff. So he's passionate about it, and it makes him very happy to be busy with that stuff. So yeah, I could just fully trust him with the program work, because he gets all the best results for the clients. And I just know that what he does is the best in our team from that perspective. So basically what we usually focus on is mostly functional fitness. A little bit less on the conditioning side. That's just because we try to do the conditioning side more in the group classes. So people that really want to get on that side, we just stimulate them to go in like more of a flow class where it's hard zone 3 training, a bit of active recovery, and we just push them more towards there. We're actually trying to build more structured training blocks now, because obviously we've been doing this for like 6 months and it's not something that we've been doing for years. So we're still trying to see what works best for clients and what works best for us. So we're trying to to program things more out to like a 12-week training block where we have different programs of different target audiences. So a women's program, a game program, a train program, everything like that. And then finish up with testing weeks, because usually we just did in-body measurements and get results from there, just coach off the floor, on the floor. But now we're trying to make people see their progress as well by doing test weeks, deload weeks. So we're just, at the minute, we're just doing a lot of stuff to still improve, and we're just still trying to have the white belt mentality, like we're still starting out, and just get better as we go.
Talk me through your sales process. What did you used to do versus what you actually do now?
So basically what we used to do is when we would get a lead, we would call them up, invite them for a consultancy session. Just
that would be in person?
Yes, in person. We would see what their goals are, very basic stuff, just fill it out. And then we would always just let them come in for like 3 free trial sessions for PT, and then just sell them into a full-on membership.
So they're coming 3 times for free?
Yes. And
then you'd say, hey, here's the prices, what membership would you like? So they could trial it out and everything. What frustrations did you come up against?
Well, in the beginning, it's better because our conversion rate went up a lot. And I'm now talking about probably 5-6 years ago that we transitioned in doing this. So at the beginning, it worked pretty well because we obviously grew a lot from it. And no one really did it in our sector, so we would stand out because we would say like, well, our service is this good, you can just try it out. But then in the long run, as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's just a lot of time that you have to spend with people for free, and it just takes up so much time in your schedules as well. Even if you're like almost filling all your spots up, then if you're having multiple leads in a week, then you just basically have to have a trainer that's even part-time to full-time just doing 3 sessions. So it just doesn't make any sense anymore at that point.
It's a bit like a barber or a hair salon saying, come in for 3 haircuts over 3 consecutive months and then pay on the 4th if you like it, and then stay with us forever.
Yeah, if you think about that, it doesn't really make any sense, no.
So you switched it. So let's talk about what you do right now.
So right now, when a lead comes in, we basically do the one call close, where we just call them up. Well, I do all these calls, really try to frame them, dig deeper, pitch, and try to get them on the 6-week program immediately, which is 6 weeks, 18 small group personal training sessions.
Just remind me of the price point.
So at one location we do it for €347, and on the other location we do it for €387. So it's just a €40 difference.
So you're successfully speaking to leads on the phone and closing them in on €250 plus for 6 weeks, and you're not getting no friction, no pushback, and everything is smooth as possible. So congratulations on your sales success doing that. What would you say to the gym owner who's skeptical to why they can't replicate what you're doing and, have conversations on the phone, ask for the money on the phone, close someone on the phone?
Well, I think one of the good things that I've gotten also from the FMA training as well is it's just the mindset that if you don't want to do this, or say like, it's not my type of thing to do, or I feel that I'm pushing, I think it's just all about mindset. If you just go back and think about the impact that you've made on so many people already, just have the thought that you're actually trying to call them to help them with something that's going to change their lives. And if you go from that mindset and you are convinced that your product just works and you can really stand by it, then you're just calling up people to give them something that's really amazing. And if you don't feel like you're giving something that's really amazing, then I think first go back and fix the product itself, because then probably if you're not standing by your own product, then the product is the problem. But if you then feel that way and you bring that emotion into a call, then people will switch on to that emotion because they'll also feel it. And then it's going to be so much easier. If you're literally trying to sell them something, people will feel that. But if you're coming from a place where you're trying to help people, they will also feel that. And then sales don't really become sales anymore. It's just becoming a conversation about trying to help someone.
What would you say to the gym owner who says, I didn't get into this industry to be a salesperson of fitness?
Well, I think if you're a gym owner, then I think you need to be able to do everything, because in the end, you're a business owner, and the responsibility of a business owner is to just basically take care of everything that's important to keep running the business.
Which is generating revenue.
Yeah, obviously, because you're still a commercial business. You need to pay all your wages, need to get all your costs sorted out, and make enough money to keep the lights on, and hopefully have some extra money to live a pretty decent life yourself as well. So it's just, if you're not willing to do that, then I think you've made the wrong choice in the first place to become a gym owner.
And you're not going to be in this position forever. Like, I can foresee what will happen, because it's happened to other FMA clients, is eventually someone will come in part-time, then full-time, and take the sales element off of your plate. So then you can focus on other elements in the business or other ventures outside of the business.
Exactly. It's mostly just temporary. If you just really don't like something, at least get good at it. So at least that when you hire someone that does it for you, then you are good at it yourself. So at least you can also give them feedback on how to improve and see whether they're doing a good job or not. So that's why you literally have to do, I think it's best, at least for gym owners, to do every job yourself first, and then put someone else in that position if you really don't like doing those things. But then it's more of a luxury that you can afford and are privileged enough to be able to do that. But first you just have to do it yourself.
Tell me some of the mistakes you've made with marketing and trying to generate leads prior to coming on board with FMA.
Well, a lot, basically. We tried a lot of different agencies. I think we've had some agencies that worked, but I think how you would expect it, or let me just reframe that as well. The standard level of a Dutch fitness marketing agency is just so low that I think most gym owners would probably be happy if they would get 10 leads a month. So I also came from a standpoint where I would just get, on good months, I would get 10 to 20 leads, and it's been like that for years, and I was always happy with it, because I always thought, like, well, I came from a place where I would get no leads whatsoever. But then those leads dried out because that strategy just wasn't working again, and I think my personal problem is that I wanted to be in the role of the expert, trying to fix the marketing. So I became frustrated, started saying to marketing agencies, like, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to run this. No, this doesn't fit with the messaging that we want to put out. We don't want to run any ads like this because everyone's doing it, and it feels like it's like lowering the value of the brand. And I think, one, that's because they all lacked the expertise to convince me in trusting them. And then at the same time, it's me being an annoying client, the one that's a PT client that says, like, oh, no, I don't want to eat this. I don't want to come in 3 times a week. I just want to have my burgers and and I still want to lose weight, basically. So I think at some point I became the annoying client myself, but then obviously I came in with FMA, and from the start, and that's probably the thing that I appreciated the most, is that someone finally took the role of, this is what we're going to do, and this is why it works, and we have this to back up for it, to show, like, we've done this with so many other clients, and that just basically convinced me to say, okay, this is exactly what I need, followed them, trusted the process, and then it worked. So I think that's the biggest difference between what I've done, what went wrong, and how we ended up here.
So basically being a good student to the people that you've outsourced it to, and following the rules. Because we get it now at FMA, where people sign up, but then they'll do everything possible not to have success. And it blows my mind. And it's like, you hired us because you're struggling with lead generation and marketing, but then you're telling us what you think is best, and we just know it's not going to work. And like you said, you're being that client who's basically looking at the meal plan or not listening to the nutrition advice. They're not fulfilling on their sessions, and then they don't get results. And then
blame the trainer for not making any results.
Our track record's like really, really good. Our retention's super high, but all it takes is 1 or 2 people just to basically think that they know better. Like, I wouldn't go into someone's gym and like question the programming, because that's not my area of expertise. It used to be when I was a PT, but not now. And it's the same when it comes to marketing. Off camera, you talked about brand, and you hired a brand agency, right? Can you go into detail on that?
Yeah. So we started with this agency. Spent a lot of money on it because we were basically frustrated to a point that working with certain agencies or smaller agencies wasn't just really cutting it anymore. So we thought, okay, let's just go for like a more professional, a bigger agency that works with a lot of big brands. Because at that point, it's still not my point of expertise, and I'm still unaware. I'm not a sophisticated marketing client at that point. So I thought, okay, if I just pay more money and go for a more professional business, that should bring me more leads and better results. So we paid for a whole branding book, done everything by the book, basically how big brands just do it. Because I thought, like, well, at least if we do that, then we have something that we can build on for years. Let them run the pre-launch and everything. Well, I'm almost ashamed to say, but I've spent more than 40 grand on just doing all that and running that pre-sale campaign, and we got 2 clients. So those were very expensive clients.
But the logo looked good, right?
At least the logo looks good, yeah.
Is it still the same branding you use today, or did you change again?
No, we did change a lot of things, like the website and everything, a lot of like all the copy that they wrote for the website and everything, because it just didn't really feel right anymore. But yeah, I
think those. Well, first of all, thank you for revealing those numbers, and I think a lot of gym owners listening to this will listen from your mistake that you made with that. And every business owner has made mistakes, right? There's not one successful entrepreneur that's had a flawless track record. But I think the message here to take home is you don't need to do that. You don't need to invest that amount of money to elevate the face of the website or the logo or the brand book and the colors, because as it shows, like, it only resulted in two clients, right?
Yeah, it's also still quite a difficult one, because obviously you don't want to do things from an amateur perspective, but spending money isn't always the solution to everything. So, like, if I would stayed with the old ways and always used to take the cheap route, then I would have also not gotten where I'm right now. So I do think sometimes you just have to take the risks. Well, and sometimes it's a bad investment. Sometimes a good investment.
Famous saying, pay cheap, pay twice.
Yeah. That's basically the thing. But you just have to. I have a tendency to just be quite impulsive. So if I just think like this is it, then I'll go for it. And I think the thing that I my learning experience is that maybe I should have just taken it a little bit slower.
Yeah, but that's a great trait of most successful business owners and entrepreneurs, is that, like, the worst, like, business owners and entrepreneurs, they sit on things and they think about it, and it takes up mental space, and they can't make a decision. Do I go left or right? And it stagnates their thinking and their business, and before you know it, another 30 days pass and they still can't make a decision because they're like a rabbit in the headlights, frightened to make a decision. So a great trait that we see behind the scenes is when someone's like, yep, that's what I want, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to execute, which you did, right? So
yeah, and I always do, because I don't like thinking about things. I just rather just make the wrong decision but make it fast, and then fix the problem that comes afterwards, than think about and sit on things and just get stressed about not finding the right answer to doing it, because the right answer you'll never know anyway in most situation what's the best. So I just try to do a lot from gut feeling and just try to get things out of the way, because that also keeps your head a bit clear.
Let's talk about Hyrox. How did you first of all find it? How many have you done? And then how did you integrate it into the business and become a Hyrox affiliate? And then what's the feedback that you're getting from clients in terms of partaking in the Hyrox sessions and then going to Hyrox?
So the first time that I literally saw Hyrox was just on a story of George Heaton from Represent. He posted something about doing one. I was so bored from just doing classic bodybuilding, fitness. I didn't really get a lot of fulfillment out of it anymore. I knew that I wasn't a runner. I've never really run in my life. I'm quite big. I have asthma, so I thought, well, it's just not my strong suit at all. But I thought, like, I want to find something that I can work towards. So after seeing that, I registered for the first IROC that I've done, which is about a little over 2 years ago in Maastricht, south of the Netherlands. Trained towards that for a couple of weeks. I was actually going to do a duo with Vince, who is with us right now. He broke his foot 2 weeks before, so I asked the client to do it with me. No preparation. I was telling him how the whole Hyrox thing worked during warm-up there. But the whole just doing a race and like finding something back to work towards, an actual event that you get a lot of fulfillment from, really got me. Then I saw that it was just really small in the Netherlands. I was doing more Hyrox. I think I've done like 9 or 10 now. And I thought, if I'm going to open a second gym, then this should be I was convinced that this was going to be the next big thing, because we've obviously seen what CrossFit did when they came in, and now years later how big it is. I thought like, well, if you would want to do it, then you have to do it as soon as possible. So just because of my own passion, and I've always thought like, well, if I like something a lot and I get switched on by a lot of things, then I shouldn't be the only one. And then there must be a lot of other people that are in this. And I think the best part about it is that, like I said earlier, is that they bridge the gap between fitness and CrossFit, because that's what held me back from CrossFit. I don't really have anything with the acrobatics and all that stuff. So a lot of the gimmicks that are with CrossFit, and I might make people a little bit mad now, but I just think it's just not for me, and I don't really see the added value to that. And then Hyrox and just adding a little bit of functional fitness is exactly perfect for me.
So you became a Hyrox affiliate. How did you then roll this out? What's the programming like for the client? How many sessions are Hyrox training sessions? And then how many of your clients are now going to sort of Hyrox and are actively engaging more because they have a set goal of competing in a Hyrox?
So I think, first of all, because we got every trainer on the team, they started doing Hyrox. So I first made the trainers passionate about doing Hyrox. That made it that all our clients started seeing like, oh, he's been doing a Hyrox, and they get more into it. So we just, every Hyrox that we go to, there's more people from our gym joining, and some people are just competing to finish it, and some people in our gym are actually trying to do it competitively, qualify for the World Championships or the European Championships. Like I said, it's not been our strongest focus at the minute to really grow it, but the people that are there, the community is great. The sessions that we do are focused on Hyrox and Hyrox specific movements, and we do a lot of accessory work improving those movements. We have set Hyrox classes about 4 a week, and then we basically split them up in a more of a strength work group class and a conditioning type of group class, so that we on one end obviously work more on the conditioning side of Hyrox, and on the other end we work more on the strength side of it. We do events every once in a while. We programmed our own PFT or physical fitness test regarding Hyrox. So we test people there. We try to get people in to community events and test it out, and basically try to grow the sport more.
Let's talk about finances. What do you do on a weekly, on a monthly basis in terms of accounting? Do you have any advisors outside of the gym? How are you tracking sort of metrics?
So I think it's important. Well, I don't really like doing financials, but it's really important. I try to do most of it once a month, while I obviously keep track of every number in the business from a day-to-day basis. But then I try to do, because I don't really enjoy doing it, I try to keep it as...
I think that's most people in this industry. Like, none of us got into this industry to look at spreadsheets and finances, right?
No, so I just always try to crop it as much together in 1 week of the month to just pay everything out. So I'm at least I'm done with it, and that I know what's going in and what's coming out. Sales wise, I just keep track of everything, that every number that's going in and out of the business. So I at least know that how the gym in revenue fluctuates, obviously, where costs go to, where investments should go to, and keep track of everything. Obviously, at some point, one of my biggest next goals is to just get someone dedicated to taking over all these, the financial stuff, so that I can just say, like, I want to invest in this or this. Is this a smart decision? Yes or no? That would make my mind a lot more free, where I can be more on the creative side and think like what's good for the business, and then just get approval for someone that actually knows what he's doing. Because again, I'm quite impulsive in these things, so sometimes I do make these investments, and then sometimes they go very well, so it works very good for me. But sometimes I also gotta clean up the mess.
Again, I think that's every entrepreneur. Pull the trigger, just go and figure it out as you go. Do you have KPIs set of metrics and goals? And then let's go back to the team a little bit. What's the cadence of team meetings? Are they aware of like retention, new client sales, and everything that's going on in the business?
Yeah, so basically what we do is we have location managers on every site. So there's 2, obviously. Then we have the head coach. We basically form as a sort of a formal management more. We talk on a weekly basis to take on the most important things through the week. So I just let the location managers lead the sites and basically let them take on the responsibility and give them some sort of freedom to do how they would like to do it. Because then it also comes back from the space where I want to create jobs that people feel proud of and get fulfillment out of. So I always go from that perspective with how does someone in the team will think I'm happy to work here. I get a lot of fulfillment. So I think giving them responsibility and giving them freedom to do it how they think is best is the best way. But then obviously if they don't hit certain KPIs, then we're going to talk about those certain KPIs and how to improve those things, and basically try to stick as much as possible to the numbers and don't let emotion take over. They basically do the most managing towards the team, all the trainers. I try to call with every trainer every week just to check in, keep a strong relationship and to see like what's going on, what's important in their lives, and to keep a strong relationship with them. Then the most important meetings are just those management meetings where we just go through the KPIs, what's going down. They're obviously the most important part for me is the retention and the conversion rate from 6-week programs to memberships. So this is basically mostly the important part where I'm involved.
Well, at what point someone comes on board for 6 weeks, they're paying €200 plus, 250, right? How much was it?
Well, basically on one gym it's 227 or 287. On the other gym it's 327 or 387.
Yeah. So they're paying that money. At what point are you having that conversation with them about continuing on?
We basically the location managers basically call them up after 5 weeks, just when we do a second body measurement in week 4. Week 5 they call up the person, basically evaluate everything that's been going on, what went well, what could have been done better. We've already framed them in these 5 weeks about thinking about how their future would look like if they would continue on doing this. Because in the beginning we would run a lot into people just thinking it's a sort of a quick fix. They were just really focused on just getting the first results, and then when we would call them they would be like, oh well, I've never thought about it, and then you just get into a situation
6 weeks in, 6 weeks gone.
Yeah, and then they would have to think about it. So we obviously do a lot of work framing them into thinking and making them think about how their future with us would look like if they would do this for the long term, so that they're at least coming in to this conversation prepared. Then I also give a lot of freedom in how they do these conversations, because I think it's very important. I used to do these conversations myself, but then I felt that I didn't have any relationship with these clients, because a lot of them I've never seen in my life. So that's when I thought, well, I think we have a very good Dutch word for this, but I don't think there's a good English word for this. We call it gunfactor, but it basically means that you would like the other person to have good things in a very broad sense. Yeah. So if you build a relationship, then at least they think you deserve certain good things in your life, which then means that there's a relationship that if one person thinks about you in that sense, that there's a bigger chance that they would say yes than to a complete stranger, if that makes sense. So I let them do those calls, because they obviously know a lot more about also like how the program went, where they performed well, where they performed poorly, and they knew exactly like what are the target points to then sell to again. They run the sales conversation, and then the KPI basically we want them to convert 65% of 6 weeks programs to 12-month memberships.
You've already said a couple of them, but I think maybe we can always cover them again. But what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made as a gym owner, and what advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, I've obviously made a lot of mistakes in the past, but I don't regret any mistakes. That's, I think, the first thing, because all the mistakes in the long run made me a lot smarter. Because the one that I've brought up a couple times is just being very impulsive and just going straight for things. But I also do believe that that's really a thing that will also push you a lot further. I think the first big mistake that I've ever made is putting, when I was just running one side and we weren't as big, putting a manager in a place and basically trying to divert everything that I didn't like to him, and basically made him like a little bit of of a sponge to just take everything off my plate that I just didn't like doing.
So you stayed coaching and the manager was there or not?
So let's say someone, for example, I really didn't like if people were trying to cancel their memberships. I would just get mad, I would get emotional. I was basically just an emotional baby. This is probably like 4 or 5 years ago as well. So I always said to the manager, you call them, you try to persuade them into staying and just put all control on them. Every client that I didn't like or didn't have a relationship with, just put them with him. And then at some point, he had a lot stronger relationship with these clients than I did. He left at some point, took probably 30% of our whole clientele because he started for himself. And obviously I thought that was a pretty rough situation, obviously. And I thought at that point I thought I was a victim. But then I realized like I've basically created a job that I wouldn't like myself, which probably made him in some sense resentful. And then he left and I thought I was a victim, but in the end, then I realized like I've created the situation where this could happen. And I think that's my biggest learning point, where I thought like, okay, I have to like look at team a lot different and build a lot better relationships and at least create a job that people love doing, so you don't get these things.
Yeah, I like that what you said about the victim mentality. It's very easy to label yourself as the victim in certain situations, either personal or business, and keep reframing everything that it happened to you, it wasn't your fault, but ultimately it was your decision. And you're not the first gym owner who's lost clients to a staff member who's left and taken some with them.
Yeah, I think if you always just look at yourself as a victim or things happen to you, I think that's just stupid. I think you just have to always look at what could I have done differently to maybe what would have prevented the situation from happening. And then I think like there's just so much. I could have easily said like, I'm a victim, he did something bad to me and I've been good to him and blah blah blah. But then I would have totally missed the point where I could have done things different to at least be able to say I've done the best that I can, and there was nothing that I could do that would have changed the situation, which is almost never true. But even if that's the thing, then at least you can become at peace with what happened.
What does a day in a life look like for you right now? Like, what time are you getting up? What time are you going to bed? How long are you training in the day? What business activities, personal activities are you doing?
So basically, one of the few things that I like most about getting off the gym floor is sleep again. So what I usually do is I try to go to bed pretty early and get up. I do prioritize sleep because for me it's such a big thing. If I don't get enough sleep, I get pretty anxious, stressed. So sleep for me is a very determining factor in how I feel and also how I operate. I always try to do, when I get up, I try to do something for myself first, doing something that gets the energy flowing, maybe get on a bike and cycle or go for a run or at least get the blood flowing. Intention setting is then very important for me, because one of the things that I struggled with getting off the gym floor is once you start working from a laptop and your gym is just open constantly, there's just no stop and it's never enough. Like when in the beginning you make 3 sales, you want to make 6 sales. When you make 6 sales, you want to make 8. When you then just make 3, you feel like you've done bad because the week before you've done a lot more. So it's just, in the beginning I really struggled with finding fulfillment in that new sense of life. So therefore setting goals for each day really made me more at peace, closing the laptop down and saying this is just enough, I've done what I wanted to do and it's enough. Then basically I just schedule my days out, do mostly just the marketing stuff, social media stuff, making sure everything in the team is running good, following up the leads, probably just thinking a lot ahead for what I'm going to do in the next couple months, how everything will look like there, and just some basic day-to-day stuff. And then now a big priority for me that's came back into my life is just that I can do a lot of training again. So most of the times I'm at least training twice a day. And
then what time are you switching off from work?
Never.
Which is a problem we all have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what time is the laptop shut?
Yeah, so I'm on busy days. I basically just start at 8 a.m. probably with work, 9 a.m. and close it on good days on, I would say 4 p.m., but I would most of the times open it back up, but most of the days realistically around 9, 10 p.m.
I love the drive and the passion that you have. I think a word thrown around a lot by business owners or like business gurus, mentors is like this work-life balance. But like ultimately, if you've not built the thing and you're not content with where you're at, you have to put in the hours and the work. And that's, you're a testament to that. You're not shy of the work, right? And there'll be some people that are just basically not putting in enough work on their business, but then at the same time they're complaining that their business is not generating them the money and the revenue and what they need for them to survive and be proud of what they've created. And work-life balance, is every business owner, juggling that is tough, but you've got to know when to put your foot down and you've got to know when to pull back. And I like something that you just said about, you now have the thinking time to think about the business in the weeks, the months, the quarter, the years ahead, where previously you didn't because you were literally on the gym floor doing everything, and now you're back out and you've got that space needed. And I love what you said about sleep as well. Like we've all been there, burnt out PTs, then burnt out business owners. And you can't train, and that you've got clients that are fitter than you because they're doing 4 or 5 sessions a week, and you're literally like can't even function because you've had like 5 hours sleep for 5 days in a row and so on. So so important, the sleep, so important in terms of having that inner drive to keep pushing and create something of, that people just turn around and go, wow, like well done. What you've done is pretty amazing in the industry. And, I love that work ethic.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's talk about your mindset and your inner why and your drive to do what you're doing. Because some gym owners will listen to this and they're just like, you know what, I'm content. I'm not as motivated. I don't want to work a little bit extra. I'm happy in my bubble, in my comfort zone. Let's talk about your mindset, and then let's try and feed it back to the audience listening or watching this in terms of what can they apply to their thinking and their life to try and elevate themselves.
Yeah, so I think the part for me is what I figured out right before I made the decision on starting the second gym, because obviously I was quite a long time in a spot where I was financially very stable, made more than enough money to sustain myself. But I thought I felt very unfulfilled. I was just getting bored. I was just doing the same things every day and sticking to that. And I thought I started reflecting a lot and thinking about what was the period in time where I was the most happy, or what was the period in time where I felt like everything was going the way that I wanted to or was the most proud of. And I always reflect back on struggling, like not being able to find a solution to a big problem. So the first part was when I started thinking back about what was the best part of starting the first gym. I always never think about the successful year that we've done the best, but I always think about the year that we went from struggling, like making just enough revenue to come up with the costs every month, and just finding a way and hustling through there and find a solution to get to the point where you're then successful. So I think those periods of time for me are always the most important thing. So I figured out that I always need to have something on my hands that I can like put my teeth in and just start chewing on and try to figure out and get through it. And that's why I think, okay, I want to relive that experience, and that just means that it's the best decision to start the second gym, because we're now in this position. We've been in this, we opened like last year, October. It's now the end of June. We've been doing this for months now, and obviously from a financial standpoint, it's not been very rewarding, but I do still think that I'm a lot more happy making a lot less money at the minute than what I was doing beforehand.
When you were coasting, you mean?
Yeah, like the whole thing, I get so much fulfillment out of this, and it made me realize that, to me at least, money is just a vehicle to get you further in life and to make things happen that you would like to make happen, but just having it or making it doesn't do anything for me. And
just to recap, you say you're making less money, and that's because you reinvested back into the gym to get it off the ground, which every business owner has to do.
Yeah,
moving from site 1 to site 2, you have to reinvest and so on. But obviously, over time, as more members come through the door, the tables will turn and businesses will rise. And then I guess you got that decision, what to do next.
Yeah, Yeah, but then at first I always think like, well, first just fix the first situation, work that out, and then think about the second one or about the next one. I do at some point obviously want to get a third site in. I've had some talks, but about opening a third site already. But I still feel like just everything should come from a gut feeling, and at the minute I would feel like it's a good time to now just fill this gym up completely, get everything going, and make sure that everything's very stable, that you can also have at least a little bit of a spot where you can enjoy it, because that's also a thing that I don't really do. I find it very hard to enjoy things, which I think is also a big part of a lot of people, that they just keep striving for more and better and never enjoy it. But that's what I'm going to do first. Try to get there, make it happen. Take a step back to reflect on the situation, and then take the next step.
We have over 400 plus gyms that we currently look after, and a lot of those gyms are from English-speaking countries. We do have one gym in Macau, which is an island off of Hong Kong, and the marketing was translated into Mandarin and works over there. We know it works in every single language. And my taking on this is, most humans, they want to look better, feel better, move better, and have more confidence. It doesn't matter what language they speak or what country they were born in. Most people are looking to improve in their life. So we know that if we put the marketing out in Portuguese, if we put it out in French or Spanish, it will work and convert, because human psychology is the same. It doesn't matter where they were born or what language they speak. When you first came across FMA, what was your thought process in terms of like, okay, this is interesting, but will it actually convert in Dutch? Believe it or not, there's some gym owners out there listening or watching this, or prospective clients of fitness marketing agency that do speak English. They're in an English-speaking country, but they think that their town or city is different, their brand or business is different, and what we do at FMA couldn't possibly work for them because what they do is different, when ultimately it's not. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you work in the fitness industry, if you have a business in the fitness industry, you get people fitter, stronger, healthier, you improve their confidence, they lose a little bit of weight, they get stronger, and all the benefits that come from that. So it's the same, basically. So I really just want to understand your thought process around like finding FMA and then like going, you know what, yeah, like I'm going to make this work regardless if it's in English or Dutch.
Well, I think that the first part that always frustrated me about Dutch marketing agencies, and what I still see on basically all the advertisements that I get on social media from other gyms, is that everyone's always selling how to get the solution instead of the solution itself. It's quite simple. I think if I would go to any person that's desperate to lose 10 kg, and I would tell them like, you have a slight chance of losing 10 kg by training in the best gym that there is, like the most fancy one with the best lights, the best music. There's a slight chance, and you have to come in 6 times a week. And you have to do 2-hour sessions. Or I tell them the alternative is you can roll in the snow for 15 minutes every day, or just 3 times a week, and you're guaranteed to lose the 10 kgs in 6 weeks.
They're going to pick the snow.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? You're there to get the solution. Not we as gym owners care about the equipment that we have, like the brand that's on there, how the lights look, but usually it's just the people that also really like going to the gym that care about that stuff. But the people that usually do PT programs or all that kind of stuff are usually the people that don't really like being in a gym anyway, and that's why they need someone to keep them accountable. So they just care about getting the easiest solution and the highest guarantee of getting it, and that's all they care about. And later they start caring about all the other things, but not in the beginning.
So really, don't sell the journey, sell the end result. And we talk about this at Fitness Marketing Agency with holiday companies that advertise on TV, radio, They never show you the turbulence on the plane or the long lines at security or your luggage getting lost. What they do show you is, the beach, the sun, the sangria, the swimming pool with the family. And it's same with fitness. It's very easy to show the changing rooms, to show the programming, to show the fancy equipment. But really, an unsophisticated buyer of fitness doesn't really care about that. And that's where the money is. Of course, a sophisticated buyer of fitness like me and you, if we moved into a brand new city, we would probably seek out that.
True.
But most people are unsophisticated when it comes to buying fitness. That's where the money is, in the masses, the beginner market, and all they want is the end result. They don't want the journey to get there.
Yeah, and I think the ironic thing is that I think most, at least in the Netherlands, most gym owners don't really understand this or can't wrap their head around it, is that when I sell the 6-week program through the phone, I don't mention our gym once. They have no clue what our gym looks like, because in the advertisements, we're not even mostly in the gym. They don't know where the gym's located. I get a lot of people that actually already paid for the 6-week program and then ask, like, are you located in the gym, or is this outside, or where is this actually going to go down? Which just means that they don't really care about it. I just convince them on that we're the best partner for them to get the result that they want. And after they decide that we're the right fit, then they start thinking about the logistics and how it's actually going to go down. But it has nothing to do with whether they want to come train with us or not.
I love that. And it's so important to have that open mindset and not be fixed, and not have that mentality of my business is different, my town's different, my city's different, my country's different. Because you could have done that, right?
Yeah.
And then your business would not have grown to the levels it has. So you're absolutely smashing it in the Netherlands, in the Dutch market. So congratulations on your success. I can't wait to see what the future holds. And it's awesome having you on the podcast and as a client of FMA.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Cheers, Roy.
Thanks for listening to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you can catch future episodes.